Rayan Rupert might be the type of wing that every NBA team craves today. This is Floor and Ceiling, let's break him down. The French prospect has ideal measurements at 6'7" with a gargantuan 7'3" wingspan. That's why with Rupert, we must start on defense. He projects as one of this draft's defensive specialists. Rupert turns 19 at the end of May. He's sized like a big wing, but moves around the floor like a guard. Ideally, with his length, and once he packs on some more muscle, Rupert should be able to switch 1 through 4. Ball handlers don't want to deal with him. We certainly saw the Frenchman be a menace at the point of attack time and time again this season in the NBL. Rupert is incredibly fluid guarding in the open court. He often picks up at the inbound and then sets the tone with his motor. It's impressive how much ground he covers while being flexible enough to change directions and angles while usually staying on balance. Rupert's ability to get low in a stance, switch speeds as well as the length of his steps, and then his capacity to recover is awesome. Because of that, the New Zealand Breakers were more than comfortable using him on guards. Here, Rupert picks up full court at the point of attack, gets the deflection with his active hands, switches onto Mitch Creek and stonewalls him, then switches again and leads the ball handler to get blocked. Rupert finished the season with 20 steals in 28 games, but I think he's better than this though. His impact didn't always show up on the stat sheet because he was often blowing up plays or making ball handlers uncomfortable without directly forcing the turnover. Of note here, the French wing had 17 steals in 7 games at the FIBA Under-18 European Championships last summer, which is a much lower level of competition, but still shows this defensive potential. Of course, part of it is Rupert's physical tools. He's 6'7" with a 7'3" wingspan, and he's gonna keep improving as an athlete once he gets into the NBA. He's already pretty good there, so that alone gives him more room for error than most. It's a lot more than that though. Rupert is able to get really low to the ground, which becomes even more dangerous when paired with his length. He's basically able to get even with the ball, so he should be able to bother even the best of ball handlers. Simply put, you cannot afford to be loose with the ball around Rupert. He's able to stay parallel to drives and still get into the play using his arms. So far, guards haven't really been a mismatch since Rupert is much longer and generally as quick. Then, it once again comes down to the motor being combined with his tools. Watch here how Rupert gets so low to the floor to deflect, but then also keeps the ball in play to create 2 points. The NBA is a whole different world, but the Frenchman did face former league talent in Australia. Everything I just touched on also comes into play on Rupert's closeouts. Quickly, it comes down to that it's so tough to shoot over Rupert. So the fact that he's able to help on one side of the floor and then recover all the way to still be impactful is very valuable. As I said, his pure number of steals needs to go up, but I'm plenty encouraged by what Rupert showed this year regardless. His one sin right now is that he can be too aggressive sometimes. This is not a red flag by any means though. It's pretty common for someone who's as young as he is and as talented on defense. But as an observation, Rupert will need to be careful early on in his career, especially if it's his defense that's mostly keeping him on the floor while his offense comes around. But largely speaking, I think Rupert can be equally as effective disrupting attacks in the half court. He understands how to stay with smaller guards, and he can also be used against bigger ball handlers. Looking ahead, I want to see Rupert become a more impactful rim protector. Right now, I fully trust him to be a great individual defender, but I want to keep seeing more of how he operates within team concepts. This right here was one of my favorite plays of his. He rotates on NBL MVP Xavier Cooks in the open court and influences the miss. For right now, he's largely fine. It's more so that I'm curious to see if the Frenchman can create more plays at the basket. But really, this wasn't his role for New Zealand. Rupert cannot guard the point of attack and the paint. Still, only 5 blocks in about 500 minutes is too low. Broadly speaking, he's not really used to these situations, so he's ineffective. The breaker's wing is long. However, when he's acting as the main rim protector, even in the context of a play, he doesn't know how to position himself to be vertical at the basket. And he's also still missing that strength that we mentioned earlier. Even here, in a somewhat different way, Rupert should make himself tough to shoot over, but he can't because the guard bumps him out of the way. And while I believe Rupert will eventually switch 1 through 4, that's still a few seasons away from being a reality. At this stage, a lot of NBA 4s will overpower Rupert. The good news is that his frame should fill out very nicely, so teams will just have to remain patient. For now, however, this can cause Rupert issues all over the floor too, not just at the basket. His potential as a defender at the point of attack and switching up and down positions is amazing, but it also relies on his strength to a relatively important extent. For example, if Rupert is to defend guards a lot, then he will have to fight over screens a lot too. Can he do that consistently enough? Because strength is a big part of that. Rupert has the motor to keep making multiple efforts, locking and trailing, but he can only play through contact so many times. This clip right here should look a lot more like the future. Rupert locks, gets over the screen easily, he stonewalls the drive, and ends up forcing the pass off. On offense, Rupert's swing skill is the 3. It seems commonplace for a lot of wing prospects these days, but this really applies to him because Rupert can have a fairly simple role on offense with the value that he brings on defense. With his shot, Rupert has such a high release point that it's going to be tough to contest or block at 6'7". He's able to catch on balance and on the hop, and usually he holds his follow through pretty well. The French wing can also make and take the 3s that he'll see in the NBA, such as these looks that he receives out of the pick and roll. However, Rupert is not reliable from 3-point land at all yet. He only made 23% of his 3s in the NBL. It's on a tiny sample size of just 64 attempts, but that's also only 15 makes. Rupert started off brightly, making 10 of 16 3s in preseason, and the Breakers wing did suffer a right-hand wrist injury which derailed his season, but he's also never shot above 33% in any season. In all fairness, Rupert's shot has improved, it's become more repeatable, and his misses don't look too bad. Similar to his defensive playmaking, I think the shooting is better than the numbers indicate, although less so. For instance, Rupert is gonna need to make these out of swing passes no matter what. Thinking about the future, my main focus is increasing his shot diversity. Right now, almost all Rupert can do is spot up. Just being able to consistently fade left or right would do wonders. And then eventually, you want him to sidestep or step back out of closeouts, but he's not there yet. Even stuff like this, such as stepping into the tray out of the pick and pop, seems a bit away. If he's making 3s, Rupert can then attack closeouts. He's shown real flashes here, being able to get into the paint out of reduced dribbles and make something happen. Here, I like how quick he is with 2 steps, long strides, and the left-hand finish in traffic that probably becomes easier once he bulks up. Rupert can pass a bit too. It's simple, but this drive and kick to a 40% 3-point shooter is all he really needs. We see passes like this in the playoffs all the time. Even here, when his teammate cannot secure it, Rupert is making the right read after attacking baseline. This is still all a work in progress though. Rupert shot 35% from the field, but with a 2-month injury layoff and less than 500 total minutes played. It's too early to draw conclusions. Other than drives, Rupert also has to work on developing more counters. I like that he's willing to take these turnaround or pull-up 2s. It's exactly what he should be looking to have from in between, but they're not easy shots and they're not going in yet. It's gonna take time. Then, he'll also have to keep improving in traffic. I thought he got more comfortable as the season went on, but Rupert is still pretty skinny. He shows some skill as a ball handler, but cannot get to his spots or finish reliably. If Rupert has to bump to create space, his lack of strength offsets the rest of his athletic advantages: the length, speed, coordination, etc. Generally, I like what the French wing tries to do, so the process is there, but now it's about adding to the execution. This right here is what I mean, for example. Rupert can bring the ball up, get low on his handle as he goes right to left, and then he uses his length to finish at the rim. I keep using that word length in this video, but it's because it directly affects so much of what Rupert does. His 7'3" wingspan enables him to finish from awkward angles that a lot of other players simply do not have access to. And like I said, I really do trust his ball handling. He's not going to need to do too much either, but he maximizes his moves by matching them with his long strides and Euro steps. If everything comes together, I think the total package on both ends can be pretty scary. But this is with keeping in mind that the rest of Rupert's offense is very much a thought exercise. Really, he played as a rookie on a playoff team, rather than as a rookie in a developmental situation. It's not like when LaMelo Ball went to Australia and his team finished dead last. This meant in turn that Rupert's offensive role was truly limited, especially after he came back from injury. Sometimes he was asked to just spot up in the corner and take threes while his team ran pick and rolls or post-ups. What that means is that from the outside, it's kind of tough to gauge where Rupert's skill set really is at right now. Instead, I'll say that he's shown some exciting flashes, while stressing that it's too early to fully buy in. These are tiny, but this is one of his best reps. Rupert flips how he's going to use the screen last second and rises into the pull-up too. This level of skill has extended out to the three-point line a handful of times, but again, these are just interesting flashes to consider. The broad idea here is that Rupert could become a rangy wing who operates out of long dribbles, rises into his jumper over smaller defenders, and can handle some possessions out of ball screens. Rupert uses the pick and roll to either score. We haven't seen that as much with his pull-up though, as we've seen it as a finisher, because even though the New Zealand Breakers largely ran their offense through Jarrell Brantley or one of their guards, the Frenchman did handle the ball in spurts for them. Rupert can get to the rack with his strides and handle. He grew up playing the guard some, so he can put the ball on the floor quickly. Like we saw earlier, he can do so for a few dribbles and then use his physical tools to come up with finishes that others cannot get to. Even when Rupert cannot always bump in traffic, as is the case right now, he can offset that to some extent with his speed and motor. He's shown glimpses of being able to change directions, either right to left or vice versa, by getting low and using rip-throughs or with other counters. We didn't see this much, but I'm interested to see if there's more to Rupert's in-between game, or if not, then how it develops, because this will be important for him as well. Coming out of screens, there are also signs of playmaking, even if Rupert averaged under 1 assist per game. There's a base here, you're not building out of nothing, but he hasn't been getting in-game reps right now, and he probably won't in the short term either. I think you see some of what I mean here though. Rupert is comfortable handling the ball, he reads the screen going to his right, and then he's able to read the floor and generate the three. These flashes, like with his scoring, are so small, but I do think they're worth reading into. Because low-key, passing might actually be the Breakers wing's most versatile skill right now, despite those low assist numbers. Rupert can make at least a few reads in the pick and roll, even if they're basic and he's barely getting to do this. And he can also pass in transition. The process is far from perfect, but I do think that the 18-year-old is making decent reads while playing within his role. Besides this though, Rupert is still limited in the half court. That production is reflected in his stats. 6 points, 2 rebounds on 45% true shooting and low usage. Don't get me wrong, he's had some cool flashes draining pull-up twos or even threes off the dribble, but nothing to buy into. The French wing cannot do anything overly complex or create for himself off the bounce right now, really. That means step backs, movement shots, or any type of dynamic jumper that requires more than a spot up. We're seeing that here with the step backs in particular. This also includes threes coming out of screens, where right now any flashes there are limited, and even from the mid-range, that's honestly the case as well. Rayan Rupert projects as one of this draft's defensive specialists, a wing who's tailor-made for today's NBA, given his athleticism, his length, his motor, 6'7" with a 7'3" wingspan, who I think down the line will be able to switch 1 through 4. Now, the big questions with Rupert come on the offensive end. 6 points on 35% from the field and very low 3-point shooting numbers is not going to cut it. The good news is that I think he doesn't have to do too much more. In other words, all he needs to do is play within his role, which is going to be making those spot-up threes, ideally at least in the low 30s, but potentially higher, and then he's going to need to be able to attack closeouts. I have faith that he'll be able to do this. Rupert is actually an underrated ball handler. He can make drop-offs, he can kick it out to 3, and really, I think as a complementary wing in the playoffs, those are really all the sorts of reads that he's going to need to make. As always, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like, make sure to leave a comment telling me what you think of Rayan Rupert, and as always, if you enjoy the channel, make sure to subscribe. Take care, and I'll catch you guys next time.